Thank you, Anju. Thank you, Anjali. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to share some of my experiences and my learnings at the WHO, where I work with the World Alliance for Patient Safety primarily. My interest in the patient safety actually started from my own personal experience, where my mother had a patient safety incident, where in spite of herself being a doctor, me being a doctor, and a couple of others in the family being doctors, and being handled by an eminent surgeon who happens to be our own family friend, and not one but couple of them together with couple of anesthetists, we landed up in a situation where there was a wrong diagnosis, there was a difficult surgery, there was a problematic anesthesia, there was a problematic recovery, and I know for sure that there was no element of negligence of any sort in the whole ballgame altogether. So I realized that there seems to be something much beyond a very plain and simple understanding of somebody making a mistake and somebody falling into the trap and somebody getting ruined, etc., etc. So down the line I pursued this whole interest in this particular field of patient safety, and some of very interesting things which I learned, which I would want to share with you. Way back in 1991, Lucien Lead was a person from the Harvard Medical Practice Study in the United States who said for the first time that there are about 4% of the patients who are rather harmed while undergoing medical care. He studied about 40,000 cases from one of the most reputed hospitals of the United States, and to come out with an unexpected, unbelievable kind of this fact that we also can and do routinely harm our patients while giving the medical care. Although typically this particular report was not really paid any much of an attention, but again in 1999, when the very prestigious Institute of Medicine came out with a report called as "To Err is Human," and followed by that were studies from Australia and various other countries, which came out with an astounding figure of 4 to 16% of patient harm taking place while they are undergoing their own medical care. Now this is amazing, this is stunning. You cannot believe this kind of a situation where somebody, including doctors, including patients, including everybody in the healthcare sector, wants to do something so that the patients are helped, but they are actually not helped, they are harmed. So this terminology called patient safety came into the existence, but to me, ladies and gentlemen over here, I would say that it is all about safety. It is not patient safety, it is patient safety, doctor safety, it is everybody's safety. Typically speaking, many people in the healthcare profession and general public still believe that mistakes in the medical care are episodes of individual failures, and that most errors occur as a result of someone not doing his job rightly or correctly. However, the inferences which were drawn in 1991 as well as in 1999 said that out of 3.7% cases where there was a harm, the acts that could be really called as negligent acts were just about 1%. That means almost 1 out of 4 was about individual failures. 50% of them were preventable, and majority of them were not individual failures, but they were system failures. It was a defective system which was just waiting to fail. I had an honor of meeting this fantastic gentleman, Sir James Reason, and very eminent psychologist, and I realized that it is the 9th common cause all over the world whereby people die because of unintended injuries during healthcare. So believe me, ladies and gentlemen, more than malaria, more than AIDS, more than whatever communicable diseases, more than road accidents, people die more often because of the patient safety incidences or harms. And Sir James Reason came out with this very famous model called a Swiss cheese model of medical errors. We all know about Swiss cheese. Can we dim these lights if at all we are not able to see the pictures there? Yeah. Which is very simple for us to understand, that if at all we all see the Swiss cheese, I think it's very good to see and probably taste, but it smells very obnoxious. It has small holes, right? But when we see a cube of a Swiss cheese, we don't find that it is a transparent kind of a stuff or we can see it through and through. That's because although you have slices of Swiss cheese which have holes, the holes very rarely get aligned one after the other. Yeah, so if there is one hole, it gets blocked by the next slice, and that's how you get that kind of a feel that it's a block and it's not something which is very transparent. However, if at all at one point of time all the holes come in one line, then practically speaking there is no difference. So right from that end to this end is a single line which goes right through and through, ripping up and causing a patient safety incidents. And this is what exactly happens, that you have many medical systems, many barriers, but if there are holes in the barriers and all holes coordinate one after the other, you will land up with a problem. So why are these incidences coming in way today? Were medical errors not really all that very common? Probably yes, they were not very common earlier on. Now it's again very interesting that when the medicine was in fact ineffective, the errors were less probably, and now that it has become very effective, the errors have increased. So is medicine become a complex subject today? The answer is yes, because it was a very interesting query which was put to hardware when you got software systems, whereby they said that if you survey a primary physician who is practically doing office practice, like a general practitioner or whatever, he sees almost about 250 primary problems per year, 900 secondary problems which he has to think of while treating the 250 primary problems. He has to prescribe about 300 medicines. He has about 100 diagnostic tests, and these tests are increasing day in and day out, and he carries about 40 procedures. In an ICU setting, the Israeli scientists did a very interesting study and a paper. They said that in ICU, there are about 179 procedures which are done per day, which could be as simple as changing the bed sheet of a patient who is stuck to a ventilator, yeah, which can prove potentially dangerous. So medicine has definitely become a complex subject. So what are the types of harm that are possible? So you have harms, many of them. Some of them could be human or individual factors. Some of them could be system or organizational factors, and some of them could be circumstantial factors. Typically, as Zenobia said, not giving history correctly, not telling about vices, could be patient factors. These are two very important aspects of the philosophy of errors, and interestingly, the second one, the inaptitude, has really become a challenge to the medical world today. Surprisingly, this particular term has been coined way back in 1970 by Samuel Gorovitz. The first is the word ignorance, and it's very happy for anybody to say that, well, that doctor is ignorant, he doesn't understand anything, etc., etc. But it has been a real great challenge today that with the new advent of astounding research that is coming in the way, it has really become very difficult to keep a track of what is happening, literally speaking, day to day. And of the available literature, which one needs to be believed by itself has been another very big challenge for all the doctors. The word inaptitude is another very interesting word and a concept, because the word inaptitude means making the right decision about the right patient at the right point of time. So you have 10 treatments that are available, but which treatment to choose when at what juncture of time has really become a very big challenge. So typically I would say that being a gynecologist, if I come across a patient who say is about 45 years old and who has got say abnormal uterine bleeding, cancer ruled out already. Now there are about 7 alternate or 8 alternate treatments that are available even today in this particular country, practically speaking all over the country. And amongst them, which one to choose for that particular patient is the biggest challenge. And that is why we typically get these kinds of studies published from US. One of the best centers in the United States, best centers for giving heart care in United States came up with the data, the retrospective data, which said that the best optimal kind of a treatment that's possible for a heart care, for a heart surgery or for a heart attack was deliverable only to about 50% of their patients. Yeah? So you're talking of United States where you have helicopters picking up patients and you have state-of-art equipments and state-of-art diagnostic facilities, because the rule of the norm of the game is that if you have a heart attack, and if your balloon is there in the coronaries within 1.5 hours from the time you got the heart attack, your chances of survival are the best. But the problem is this, that the person realizes it, that he is picked up, that he is diagnosed, that he is counseled, that he is consented, that he is put into the theatre, that the catheter goes in at the right time, and you reach at that particular place in the coronary vessels to do whatever procedure, and all that happening in 1.5 hours is the greatest and the biggest challenge. And that's what is meant by the word